Welcome to the Angus Conversation. I'm your host, Miranda Reiman, with my co-host, Mark McCully, CEO of the American Angus Association. And Mark, we're doing it just a little bit different for a couple of episodes now. I'm under a little bit of a deadline here, and
A little bit.
yeah, baby number 7 is on the way, so we're pushing these just a little bit earlier than we normally would, schedule them in advance. But you've also had kind of a
Maybe we should record one from like the maternity ward or something. That would be fun.
I don't think you'd get the same audio quality.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I also think it's been to get on your schedules a little bit of a challenge too. You've been traveling, and one place that you are right now is in Rochester, Minnesota at the Feeding Quality Forum.
Yeah, the Certified Angus Beef Feeding Quality Forum. Gosh, I don't know how many years now this has been going on. Miranda, you and I would have probably been around for the very first one.
Yes.
This has been, I think, the idea back, gosh, 15, 18 years ago, whenever these started, was, a feedlot focused set of meetings that were truly focused on quality. And that at the time was maybe something a little bit unique and different. And these meetings have evolved and grown over the years. We've got a great attendance here. Move these meetings. We have one a year, and it moves around a little bit up in Rochester, Minnesota. So a part of the country that we haven't had and hosted one of these in ever. So a little different crowd, and yet we've got folks from Texas here and Kansas, and folks that have traveled in, and so no, it's a great program. Again, an agenda with a lot of focus. I know it'll be covered heavily in the Angus Beef Bulletin, and encourage folks to go over there. I think this evening, one of the things that has become special about this meeting is the recognition of an industry leader through the Industry Achievement Award, and
One
this
of my
year's.
favorite parts of it, by the way, because you get to learn so much cool history about, how much progress we've made in the business. It really is fun.
It is fun, and this will be a fun one tonight. Dr. Gary Smith, so probably someone that doesn't need a lot of introduction across our industry as a meat scientist, truly one of the leading minds and influences in beef quality and the meat industry. Gosh, for forever. And so to recognize Dr. Smith tonight will be an awful lot of fun, and the program is really loaded with some great topics. We'll be talking about things and while this program was originally designed for cattle feeders, what we found is, we have quite a few cow-calf folks, commercial and registered folks that come as well. So it's kind of evolved even a little bit. We'll have some discussions tomorrow about how do we balance this cow and the carcass, right? Kind of an ongoing discussion that we're having across an industry, but also talking about some of the things going on even in research. Kelly will give an update on the bovine congestive heart failure research that Angus has been leading, and through AGI. And so great agenda. Again, stay tuned to Angus Beef Bulletin to catch all the highlights if you weren't able to be here in person.
Which is what I will be doing. I am very sad to miss it. I think the very first event, either the first or the second event, when it was out in North Platte, I had a 6-month-old at the time, and that was when I was moving to Cozad. So it's been a long history that I've been headed to them. One thing that I am sad to miss is Dan Bossi always gives his real big picture update for the year. So I know that this will be a month past that. And sometimes you know how market predictions can go, but I want to know what was his big message for cattle producers.
Well, Dan Bossi from Ag Resource Company is he would be very bullish for the cattle producers. Were all smiling. Of course, I think he's got a very bullish forecast on where the cattle industry is going, and at the same time where feed costs are going to be. His projections around our feed grains, that we're going to have pretty cheap feed and pretty expensive cattle. So. Most of the folks in the room were smiling pretty big, depending on how big of farmers they were. If they were more grain farmers than cattle producers, they were probably not as thrilled with his message. But he thinks and works in a very global, as the markets are, right, in a global way. So he's always very good at kind of connecting all these geopolitical and global events, and of course discussions around tariffs and how does that impact trade, not just for the U.S. but other countries that then have been exporting maybe beans to us now that are going to go someplace else, and what's the ripple effect. So it was a very, as always, a very enlightening discussion, and pretty high level. You gotta sit on the edge of your seat to hang with Dan. He runs pretty fast and has a lot of information to share.
Yeah, I think he sometimes does like 55 slides in 45 minutes or something like
It's
that.
it's
But
rapid fire. Yeah. I
exactly.
started trying to write notes. So it's like, no, just pull my phone out and take pictures of slides. You get not enough time to write notes. So
Absolutely. Well, I think when you talk about being bullish on the cattle business, that is something that Dan would share with our guests today, who have had a long time career in the Angus business as first generation Angus breeders and just do a great job of sharing both their optimism and their, I guess, sort of can-do attitude of what got them from just starting out to where they are today.
yeah. David and Carol Medeiros, Rancho Casino. Probably most know them best as out of California, but as they share and have shared their story here, making a move and a transition to a place in Nebraska as well, and they talk about some of the unique challenges of how you make a move like that, and the differences between and the similarities, of course, between running a registered Angus outfit in California and Nebraska, and first generation folks that have had a lot of success. And so again, we've got a great story to tell.
Today we have David and Carol Medeiros from Rancho Casino in both, do I say both Denair, California and also in Purdom, Nebraska, or do you claim one or the other?
Right now, we're still claiming both.
Very good. So we've got them at their Nebraska location today. We understand just straight in from the hayfield.
Yes, and mowing weeds.
That's a
Rains here, but the weeds get really good, so we're cleaning up.
And you're in Nebraska right now, correct? Yeah.
Yes, we're in Nebraska right now.
Right now.
It's we had a nice storm last night, a little more rain, but it's a nice 95 degrees and a little muggy today. So
There you go.
condition tractor.
that rain will bring both the weeds and the bugs too.
Yeah, it hasn't been a big bad bug year, but for as dry as we were in May and the way all the country looks, it's been a really nice summer.
Good.
Very good. Well, we'll let you tell a little bit of your own story, but of course, CAB Commitment to Excellence Award winners sometime back. And
I think I first met you guys during the National Angus Carcass Challenge that Certified Angus Beef hosted. Would that be correct? You guys were doing some work feeding some cattle in Nebraska with the Beller family, and that would have been a few years ago.
Yes, we had dinner in Denver, I think, and when they had the awards at the stock show the first time.
Yep.
Thomas family in Idaho, who'd bought bulls from us a lot, started feeding at Terry's, and they won the heifer division or a couple of divisions or whatever for a couple of years in a row. So yeah,
Yep.
that's how we got to know them and got to know the Billard. Yes.
Yeah. That was a fun contest. It was, gosh, now I'm going to date myself, 15, 20 years ago, maybe now, but really, it was a neat time at Certified Angus Beef, highlighting some folks that, it's funny, you look back on some of those contest winners at the time, and they were probably, I don't know what those heifers did. Maybe you might remember, probably 35, 40% Certified Angus Beef, and they were probably 10% prime, and they were winning the contest, maybe they were a little
people
better
thought
than
that was
that.
almost an impossible level of grading at that point.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's right where they were at. And I mean, they were 100% prime and 100% choice, excuse me.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yep.
that's where those cattle did.
Yeah. We've made some progress. Now that's what we run every week as a national average anymore, isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
So,
that's true. It's pretty nice to see.
yeah. And then I would have also seen you guys most recently back in May in Australia. You guys also attended the World Angus Forum and had a good trip there. I suspect that was a fun trip for you guys.
It was absolutely wonderful. Wonderful hospitality. Actually got to meet new people from the United States as well. There's something to be said for hanging out on nice buses, driving from one place to another. You visit with people, and we met very nice people, and the hospitality was second to none. The Australians were so welcoming, and it was nice. It was fall there, so it was very nice to be there as well.
Like kind of the ultimate road trip.
Right.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, it was a really nice time. We saw a lot of good cattle, really good operations, a nice country. I was very impressed. Very
Yeah.
impressed. Yeah.
No, we have some Australian listeners, so I know we've thrown a lot of kudos their way. They put on a first class event, and that was yeah, it was a lot of very impressive operations. It's also fun to see some U.S. Angus influence across many of the herds there and how they're using some of our genetics and yeah, great event all the way around for sure.
Oh, yeah, it was. I thought we might find a complete outcross Australian bull that I really liked. There was an Angus bull back in there somewhere, and usually up close every time we found the ones we really like. So, yeah, they're using a lot of our genetics and working there.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice to see him in action on another continent then too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So maybe we'll just jump right kind of to the beginning here, and you guys can tell us a little bit of your story. And I think I heard you quoted in one of the videos that you did through Angus Media with Kate on our team that you said something like, back then we were just 3 kids and 40 cows. So how do you go from 3 little kids and 40 cows to what you guys got today?
Well, the whole thing started, my folks sold their dairy when we were young, and my brothers and I bought Angus heifers, showed and did that, and that's what got us interested. The 3 kids and 40 head was because that was the mid 80s and things weren't great in ag, high interest rates. So we basically started all over. It was 2 kids and
Baby on the way.
and an 8-month pregnant wife, but yeah. So to make it work, it just took both of us working. We rented ground, we ran cattle for other people, had help from friends, clipped cattle, did whatever it took. Carol basically went to work full time instead of part time once Danielle got old enough, and just stayed after it. Fortunately, it worked out because 6 or 7 years later, we partnered with Dave Del Porto and we had our first bull sale. So we managed to turn it around somewhat anyway, fairly rapidly.
But it did take 20 years before we actually purchased that ranch because we saved as much as we could as time went on. It was a slow process, but we got this ranch that actually is the one we purchased like a year and a half after that happened. And that's where we've been ever since. And so we just kept going and kept believing, and we weren't going to be able to find anything else close around. So we decided to stay the course and keep going and just keep saving money. And thank heavens the landlady lived to 93. So we had saved up enough by the time she passed away. So then it was a big stretch even then, but we had saved enough. Pretty scary. The attorney, because the relatives were all fighting, put it to sealed bid. So we had to go to the banker, knew the appraiser. We had to do our very best to do the best we could, and we made it. So we're very grateful that that all worked out. And my business was in Turlock, so we would have had to move 2 hours away to find anything comparable. So it worked out. We felt very, very grateful when that all worked. So
Holy smokes. Do you guys ever think about what would have happened if it went the other way? Like, what have you?
nope, never looked back. It was so many
That's
years
really
ago.
wise.
That's where we'd always had the bull sales. So it was really a rundown place that we worked hard in those years to clean up. But that's where the bull sale has been held, including this year at the 34th year. We still have it there. A big, great big old hay barn that now has a new roof because it got blown off twice. And so we keep on going. And it's nostalgia at this point. I don't think we'd like to think about doing it in a different place right now. So it's worked out well.
That's cool.
So help us with geography for your Denair is where? Give us some landmarks and help us with geography a little.
We're in the Central Valley, about halfway between Sacramento and Fresno, probably up against the foothills on the east side.
Yeah.
And the home place is irrigated with some dry ground. And then farther, a little south and farther east in the foothills is our winter ground that we've leased. And we've had that lease for about 40 some years, 40, 45 years. First started with some other folks. I think between the two families, we've leased it since, I thought they said 1938.
Wow.
but it's worked out really well. Yes. So a lot of farming around us. Used to be a lot more irrigated pasture and cattle. It's dairy and mostly almond trees now. So part of the reason for doing the Nebraska is we're getting squeezed right there. California's noted for more regulation and tax than most places, but the appreciation on the ground because of everything around us has been really good and made it possible to.
Sure. So irrigation, mostly irrigated pastures there where you're at?
At the home place is largely, mostly irrigated. And then most of the winter grazing, which is not what you do everywhere else, but California, we do winter and spring, is in the foothills.
In the foothills. Yes. So you've seen some changes in water regulations and the whole irrigation scene over the last several decades for sure then.
Yeah, and because we pump so much water in the valley, we haven't recharged a lot. So there are places that are worse than us. We sit in a nice spot. We have some district water, surface water, which makes a difference, and pump water. But we pay fees into 3 different agencies now for water quality, water monitoring, and everything else. The newest one we got a notice about 4 months ago, and it's $52 an acre just for them. Well, turn in our stuff, and in theory, they're monitoring groundwater. I used to irrigate the whole ranch for $52 an acre. It wasn't that long ago. So, like everything else, the expenses change. So, the move to Nebraska is there's a lot of water here. We don't irrigate, we don't have pivots, but the Ogallala aquifer is apparently a very good thing. And there's a lot of water and it's cattle country. So that's part of the reason for the move here.
Sure. We don't like as many regulations here.
No, definitely not.
People ask me, doesn't it get really cold there? I said, yes, it does. But everything we do, I think, is easier, except for the winters.
That's fair.
Compared to California. Yeah.
And that's a good place to put a pin in it while we hear from today's podcast sponsor.
It doesn't take long to notice what makes our manure spreaders unmistakably Vermeer. And it's more than just the yellow paint.
The first reaction to everybody was, wow, that thing is heavy built. It really fits into the Vermeer lineup, having the reputation for durable, high-quality products.
The last thing that someone who's hauling manure wants to do is have to fix on their machine, and our manure spreader is one that you're not going to have to do that.
But don't just take our word for it. Head to Vermeer.com, click Find a Dealer, and see the difference for yourself.
Now let's pick up right where we left off. And how far in California, then, would you guys be away from Dal Porto's, and maybe talk about how that relationship got started?
He was west of me, more towards the coast, probably no more than about 70 miles. Basically, where it started is when we were younger, we showed cattle at the same time. But he was in college at the same time I was. He was at Chico State. We were at Cal Poly. We were on judge and teach at the same time. As it turned out, we each had a brother on each of our teams. So we got to know each other better. After that, we were basically doing the same thing, trying to build our herds up and trying to just be in the Angus business. Neither one of us was big enough to do it on our own. At the time we did it, there was only 2 Angus bull production sales in California. So we were the third, and right now we are the second longest continuous. Bill Bort Tehama got the jump on us by quite a bit. My brother and I and Dave actually worked his first bull sale while we were in college. Put bulls through the ring and everything for him.
Did it feel like a big jump at the time to have a production sale?
Yeah, probably because there wasn't a lot of people doing it, and we weren't sure we were completely ready. The market was pretty good. We thought we had enough to offer. As it turns out, we were hoping to just average enough to pay the sale cost and net what we'd been doing private treaty. As it turned out, it was better than we expected. We were about $900 over that. At that time, that was a difference between $2,100 and a little under $3,000. So,
and they sold in an hour and 45 minutes, and they all wrote a check that day. And I told David, well, this is a good thing. I think this was a really good idea, because before that, private treaty, driving bulls around, consignment sales, that was very difficult. But we had a nice group of people that day, and all of our friends came. Parents came, friends came. Bob Day, who was a good friend that goes clear back to Idaho, I think, in the Angus business days. He brought his barbecued hamburgers. It was a hands-on, let's have a bull sale. And it really worked out well. And it's gone well since.
Never look back. Yeah.
No.
Oh,
I don't think I've ever asked you, Rancho Casino, what's the story behind the name? I hope it's a good, like you hit it big at the blackjack table one night.
it should be. You go to the grocery store. We even get calls. They think we're a casino in the middle of the night. Where's it at or whatever. But in California at the time, a lot of places were named Rancho this or that. I guess it was the old Spanish deal or whatever. But when we first got the heifers, we came home one day from school and my dad had sketched Rancho Casino out with the dice and everything exactly like we're using now. And being 14 years old or 13, it looked pretty cool. And we have stuck with it ever since. Just because he did it, there's probably no reason that I should change it, I guess. We thought about it at times or just your name, but no, it was his doing. He came up with it, the whole thing. And we're still using exactly like he sketched it out.
Well, that's a great story too.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah.
Carol, I understand that you have a sort of accounting background, or that's what talk about how what your day job was for all of those years has kind of how that's shaped your ranch, maybe, or your business.
Yeah, I came from a small farm. We both grew up on farms, and we were 4 girls. His family was 4 boys and then a sister later. But my dad wanted us all to be able to take care of ourselves. It was a very big thing to him. So his idea became a CPA. We met actually at a county fair in between one of those years that we were both going to Cal Poly, but went on, graduated, became a CPA 2 years later. And then we started having kids, so worked part-time. But fast forward, the person that I became a business partner with, that we actually owned a firm for 20 years together, he and I met at the CPA review class and stayed friends, worked there, some worked in a different place, came back. And then I think I was in my early 40s that we decided we were going to start our own firm. And actually that worked out great because the kids were older. We really appreciated that we raised our kids. We didn't have immediate family living where we lived. So he and I both did that together. He was often the pickup, I was the drop off. But at that point in time, we kicked into a much higher gear. And actually, David doing what he did for a living helped me build my clientele in a tremendous way because they felt like I knew what they were talking about. And we were primarily agriculture. And that included beef, but also dairy, all sorts of row crops. There's so much agriculture in the Central Valley. So that part worked out well too, because I did know what they were talking about and they did know what we did for a living. So that was very helpful too. And we actually sold the firm to a Midwest national firm 7 years ago. And actually a little bit longer than that, we worked for them for a couple of years. So that was in my early 60s. And then that's when David said, I think let's go do something new. Let's go try this. So it worked out well. I did it for over 40 years. It's a great occupation. You learn so much. You work with great people. We had great clients and built a staff that was something to be very proud of. So it worked out well. And we kept on going from there.
Do you still do all your books today?
Oh gosh, yes, I do. I do more accounting than I did. We did a lot of estate planning. So the final 15 years, we were very heavy in estate planning. And so I've watched all this, including the Common Ground Summit and all of that, seeing how important it is, because I was working with clients, with families that really had a hard time when those levels were lower and very unfavorable to agriculture, and still even today with the values that have gone up. So that became a big part of we were doing a lot more consulting. I had rock star accountants. I didn't need to be doing that work. So I'm doing it again now. I'm taking care of all that, but it's good. He does all the registration cattle part though. That's all his job. So I do together.
He doesn't get out of the book work completely then.
Well, no, he sits at the computer as much as I do. So how's that? He takes care of that. So it was a great occupation. It worked out really well for us. So, and I was so fortunate to be in business with someone. His dad was an Illinois farm boy that ended up in California. So they had great Midwest values. He was a really good guy. So very grateful for that. That worked out well.
I heard you speak, Carol, on a panel a couple years ago, I think, that was on estate transitions and obviously some of the real challenges with the state tax and some of
Right.
the challenges that you saw firsthand and helped families work through and navigate. And that was, I know, that was an excellent discussion. I know a lot of folks benefited from hearing your perspective on that day. That was good.
Well, thank you. The biggest challenge, and I'll say it always, is to get families to come together and go to work on it. It's a work in progress, always. But those who don't come to try and work through it, it doesn't turn out so well. And it's not easy. It'll never be easy, but it's so necessary. So, no, that was an honor to work with a lot of good families and help them through that for sure.
I wondered if it had the fact that you are kind of a financial mind and involved in the business side so heavily. When you guys go to make decisions, does that factor into it? Do you give him a budget when he's going to buy a herd bull, or how does that work out?
No,
Budget? What's a budget? Yeah.
yeah, no.
Got that right, Mark, pretty much. No, Carol watches it, it's conservative and pays attention to all of it. I usually just charge on and figure out it's going to be okay or turn out okay.
You don't call it Rancho Casino for nothing, right?
Now always a gamble, So, yes.
But so far, so good. But he has made me catch my breath a few times. It's like, well, actually, when he and Dave Dal Porto, before we started the California bull sale, they went to Bill Bohr's sale and they were going to buy a bull, and start breeding for what they felt would really be good. And in those days, he stopped on the way home at a payphone to tell me that they bought 2 bulls, not 1. And he didn't want me to hear it from anybody else. He said, it was just a really good deal, Carol. So we bought 2 bulls that day at Bill Bohr's, and that worked out great too. But it was one of those things. Kids don't even know what payphones are today, and that's the only way we even talked to each other back then. It was like, it'll be okay, but we bought 2, not 1 of them. So yeah.
Did he start out with that? It'll be okay. That was the first thing he said.
Okay. Well, basically, I think it went along those lines. Yes, it was like, okay, that's pretty much how we've gotten along. We work through it. So
we're going to take a quick timeout for a word from Angus Media. To make good decisions, you must be informed. At the Angus Journal, we have you covered. Subscribe to our monthly magazine to be part of the direction of the association and influence decisions that will affect your business. For just $50 a year, you get a high-quality publication filled with good cattle and stories of good people delivered each month. Change is inevitable. Don't get left behind. Visit angusjournal.net to subscribe today. Now let's pick up right where we left off. So I want to know if that's how the decision to move to Nebraska went as well. Did David have to do a lot of convincing, or he just gamble and go, or how'd it work out?
well, actually, we started coming here, gosh,
We've been coming for about 4 or 5
4 or
years.
5 years, and we went in a partnership on some cows with friends, and we started coming to their sale and making 1-2 trips a year back here. And so that was in Thedford. And so I remember thinking at the time, it was so nice to get away from all the hustle bustle, everything in California. It would be a good trip, nice people, got to know it. Well, then I was in the second year of the 2-year contract and was going to be finished up in November, and it was in the summer, it was in the spring, and we were on the Western Livestock Journal tour. We had met nice people from North Platte. One was a real estate person, and David said, well, why don't you start looking? Why don't you just see what is around there? So we knew we wanted to be in this area. And lo and behold, the place that we are at today was on the market. So we came in June, right? I think we came in June of that year after we'd been on that tour. And myself and 6 men came to look at the ranch. But David was in luck that day, because now I know that a lot of these ranches, they're beautiful, but the house is usually the last thing that everybody's fixing up. They're getting everything else taken care of, and equipment and fences, corrals, whatever. And the people that we bought from, built a new house on this place, and she had really nice taste. It was really nice. And that did get my attention, because the house in California was built the year I was born. So I knew how old that house was. It had been there a long time. So we looked around and it was a good rain year that year, right? I mean, it was so green. Yeah. There was so much grass, and drove around, and that was it. It's about 40 minutes from Thedford, but an hour from Valentine. It has a great location, and we have landed in the nicest town and valley. Purdom has wonderful people. We have met wonderful people here. So sometimes in life, it's just nice when things are meant to be, and that's how they turn out. But realize I've also gone back and forth to California through these years, so I didn't make a complete move right away. And we still haven't done that. I had to get adjusted to going 40 minutes to go to the grocery store. That was a change,
Right.
Especially coming from where we had. But no, it seemed to make sense. I mean, I could see the writing on the wall too, with what's going on. And in California, we still have a great clientele in California, but things are just getting harder, and this is a much more pleasant way to live. So many people have said, what are you guys doing? People start retiring at your age. And I say, we're living. That's what we're doing. David's dad worked well into his 80s. It doesn't look like there's any slowdown for a while. So it's really, we couldn't have picked, I don't think, a nicer place to actually have a ranch and buy a ranch. And the neighbors have been wonderful to us. We've actually started this bull sale with the neighbor's son, who was just getting started in the registered Angus and interested. And that's who we had our third one this year here in Nebraska. And that's part of what's really been rewarding too. Helping young people keep going in this business, that's really rewarding. So
I love it.
Didn't have to convince me a lot. We've been hanging out a long time together. So very supportive when I was working probably way too many hours and doing too much, taking care of a lot of things. So I figured it was his turn. So, and not sorry that we did. Not at all. Not in any way. It's really turned out well.
That's awesome. So talk about the transition. So did you move cows? Did you just kind of start? Are you running cows in both places now?
Yes. We're running the same number in California. What I did the first year is I sent a whole heifer calf crop in November, weaned heifers, wintered them at a yard that develops heifers not far from here, got them bred, and then brought them to the ranch. And then we traded with Tyson Cox, our neighbor, some pasture for him watching and just kind of taking care of this, because there wasn't a lot going on at the time, so we didn't have to hire somebody. Then the next 2 falls, I sent basically my March calving cows, a load each year from California. And after 3 years, we're pretty much fully stocked here. So it started with heifers that I thought should acclimate. It was a winter to acclimate. It was cold, and a lot of snow. And actually, we didn't lose any, and they did well, bred up well. And quite a few of them are my older cows here now, I guess. So since then, everything that's here has been born at the ranch.
Gotcha.
Did you change your breeding philosophies at all to, you talked about, Carol, you had to make the change from being 40 miles away from the grocery store, but those cows went into quite a different environment. Did you change anything with your breeding philosophy when you moved north?
Not a lot, but in California, our biggest market and dependable year in and year out was calving east. Everybody calves out. You don't have to worry about weather. A lot of it's in the fall. So it's calving ease with giving them as much performance as we could get. And that's been our driver. If we sold 150 bulls, they could be 150 calving ease there. When we get to Nebraska, it is not quite there, not quite as particular about that. I guess they're calving in. They are going to need cattle that a little more to them. They've got to have plenty of substance, a little stouter, maybe to handle the cold and the elements. So we haven't had to be, we're still pretty conscious of the calving needs, but we haven't had to be quite as much as we are in California, and concentrating on maybe a little more of the wean and weight phenotype, maybe just a little stouter, a little heavier kind of cattle.
Does your ideal cow look a little different in Nebraska than she did in California?
Not really, but she's fatter in California than she is in Nebraska. It's pretty forgiving to be unirrigated in the summer and go to the foothills in the winter. Here, they're going to tough it a little more. So I'd say she's a little tougher critter, but she's not much different than what we selected for before. We really haven't changed that. Over the years, the first thing we look at is udder quality, I guess, in the cow, try to measure fertility, but she's basically the soundest in production of them. It doesn't change the phenotype that much on the cow side.
How about talking about you had built for decades a bull base, a bull customer base. How do you still continue to maintain that customer base and then grow a new customer base at the same time, or what's your strategy there?
Fortunately, there's two of us. So when we had the first sale, we each had our own customer base, and we had a few people that had bought from both of us. So that helped. So we were dependent on both of us. Since we started that, I think just about everybody that's ever bought a bull from us has bought from either one of us. And some it doesn't. We try to treat it as one, even though we have two separate herds, raise the bulls together at wean and from then on. I guess it's just trying to give them a critter that works for them in their environment, standing behind our product. Probably the biggest challenge, it's less of a challenge when the market's as good as it is now or has been, is that we were the youngest and most of our customers were quite a bit older when we first started, been in business a long time. They're not around anymore. And you've got to continually find somebody. There's still a lot of people our age in it, but I guess you try to keep your reputation. As they say, if they're happy with you, nobody will say anything hardly, or they might. The people are really happy. But if they're not, when they go to the coffee shop, they will be pretty quick to tell everybody, that they weren't. So we encourage anybody that has a problem for any reason to let us know, and we take care of it. We don't make you vet check. We don't go through the hoops. And to my knowledge, nobody's ever abused that. People have been very fair with us as far as on our guarantees and everything.
And now you're still selling bulls in California as well.
Yes. About a month from now, we'll have our 34th sale. Yes.
So keeping two sales going in two different time zones, is that a challenging juggle?
Well, it's a spring and a fall, so it's probably no more challenging than trying to do everything else in two places. We're very fortunate the people that take care of the bulls or feed for us that we found about 7 years ago in California do a really good job, conscientious, and do a lot for us, do a real good job. So that part of it, as far as raising the bulls, they take care of it pretty well. Then here, it's a matter of getting established and getting to know people and starting a new customer base. And fortunately, we feed right here. Tyson's dad has a feedlot, feeds our bulls for us. It's not a quarter mile from the house. We can look at them every day, more than one if we want. So because it's a spring and a fall, I guess it's not any more challenging than the rest of what we're doing.
So I heard you on that same video that I mentioned earlier say that the biggest mistake you can make is to think you've got the best there is and believe your own story. Explain that to me. I loved that quote.
Well, I guess I've seen it before. You just quit making progress. Our philosophy is to just try to make them a little bit better every year. See what we need to improve. If we're happy with one thing and it's going well, what else do we need to improve? I think as soon as you get complacent about it, I guess is what I mean, and what you think you have better than anybody else, you're going to quit making progress and everybody else is going to go by you. I guess when we first started, we did a lot of AI. We still do quite a bit, a lot of our own bulls. That was the biggest thing I think that helped a smaller breeder, because then we had to access to the same bulls, the same genetics that everybody in the country had. So basically, our philosophy and looking around at the successful ones is the man with the best cow herd was going to do the best as far as cattle. So we really concentrated on making that cow herd better every year. We cull very heavily and we keep a lot of replacement heifers. So it's probably not a sound economic thing in the short term, but in the long term, I think we're making that cow herd just more functional wherever they're at.
That's cool. I like that philosophy, and I think that's great advice. What do you think that when you look back at the cow herd you started with to the cow herd you have today, what are you the most, I guess, proud of that you've been able to make some strides on, or what things do you think you've improved the most in?
When we first got started, on my budget, we bought a lot of cheap cows and bred them up. It took a long time. If I had to do it over again, I would buy some better cows, spend a little more money, because after a few years, when I did buy some bred heifers and young bred cows that were better, they improved much more rapidly. So I guess just the fact that they're what these cows produce today, not just in my place, but across the country, what they produce for bulls compared to what they were in when I got out of college in 1976 or so, there's no comparison to the quality of the cattle. I mean, they are so much better, do so many more things. I don't know if the cow herd's any better, but they're producing, as far as productivity, but they're producing cattle that are just way better than what we had before.
As you breed cattle, I mean, we know in our membership and folks listening to this podcast, we have a very diverse opinion on how much from use every tool, every technology, every piece of data to really just leaning heavily on phenotype. But where would you place yourself or your program or your breeding philosophy in there as you go about trying to make that next generation just a little bit better?
We try to balance both. We wouldn't have made the progress we've made without the phenotype and the EPDs. We just did not have those tools to identify cattle before. And no matter how good they look or how good a judge you think of them are, you can't tell till you get the data and do it. On the other hand, I think if I can't look at them and like them, they could have the best numbers in the world. And I'm not going to enjoy going out and looking at them. So I'm not going to do that either. No place is perfect for either one. Everybody's got, like you said, Mark, a little different philosophy. We've got so much performance in these cattle now and what they will do compared to, I think, maybe our environment and what they'll do everywhere is that we're probably gearing to lean a little more heavily on phenotype and things like foot quality, docility, hair shed, and that, because we might have all the performance that these cattle can express, for what we can do with them.
Yep. What are you hearing from your bull customers? Are there things they're looking for you to do differently, or they need in the next couple generations?
Not a lot there. What we've done is they're different. Everybody used to kind of get there early, go through all the bulls. They don't get there that early now. They've got them catalog marked. They know EPDs. They know what their herd needs. I'd say they're conscious of the carcass traits in some of them. Like I say, in California, cavities and a wean and weight to go with it is the biggest driver for most people. But, sometimes they're stricter standards than what we'd like them to have to sell a bull. But we did that, telling them what it means and everything else. So they pretty much know when they get there, most of them, what they're interested in. And it doesn't take them long to look and see if it fits their deal. They go to lunch and we try to start our sale on time or 5 minutes early every year. And I think we made it all but 1 year. And there was a traffic jam about a mile, about
99.
About an hour away from our place. We're a half hour late, letting a bunch of good customers get there when they started calling. Yeah.
That's probably a good call. You probably won't have that in Nebraska.
Yeah, I was going to say that had to have been in California.
We haven't had a traffic problem since we got here at all. But we've avoided being blizzarded out too.
Yeah, so you've got some other
days.
Challenges.
Yeah, it could happen. But so far we've been very fortunate there. Yeah.
I think it's interesting when you've talked about what your customers want and your philosophy and all of that. I haven't really heard you mention carcass quality, and yet that's where this conversation started, is that we know you've been recognized by CAB for that, and that you had customers winning those contests and things. Where does that fit in your list of priorities of things that you're trying to breed for?
I would say it's important, but it's acceptable carcass quality. We're not looking for the extreme end on it. We're going to be on Cabanese, wean weight, udder, and the cow herd probably first, and then that.
Sure.
Where that came about is we had a good customer in Idaho who was feeding his own cattle, and they were doing well where they were at. And that's when he won the contest. He was commercial breeder of the year, Thomas family in Idaho.
Mhm.
And they met the Beller family at the CAB convention getting their award. And he started feeding with Terry, and that's how we met the Bellers. And then we started feeding some of our cattle there and partner with Terry on some of the customers' cattle just so they could get the data and see what they did. So it's been, it's people we would have never met before that have really been good friends. I don't think anybody's met Terry that didn't like him. We actually, Carol talked about the partnership cattle we had. Terry was one of those back here that was in with us. We called it Triple L Cattle Company. And Terry named it, and it stands for Living Life Large. And that's pretty much his philosophy is work hard, but play hard too. And he's done a really good job. And he's got us bull customers too coming to the sale and visiting just because they were impressed with him. And people that have sent him their cattle to feed also that did not feed their own before.
This egg business is pretty small when you get down to it, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be, yes.
Yeah. And I had actually forgotten that the meeting between Jimmy and Terry was at the CAB conference, correct?
Yes, that's how they met each other. Yes, yes.
I had forgotten that. I was thinking it was all through the National Angus Carcass Challenge, but that it was that CAB conference and them both being award winners that made that connection first.
Yeah, Terry, when he was feeding at Agri Beef, I think at the time, Jimmy, when they were at the contest, and then he went to Terry's. I'm sure you guys heard about it when you quit doing the contest because he liked that $1,500 he was winning every year.
We told him we had to quit doing the contest because he was winning it every year and it wasn't generating a news story.
Yeah, there you go.
So as you guys kind of look ahead to the future, I mean, especially with your background in estate planning and things, Carol, what's the future look like for you guys there? What do you still want to accomplish? And
right now, we're living our life, enjoying it very much. We have 3 kids, but no one loves cows. And so we raised them to find their own way, and they're all doing well. They love to come back to the bull sale. They love the people, that they meet. We are going to keep going and just stay in the day and however long we can do this and enjoy it. And you never know. There's grandkids coming along now too. You don't know what'll happen with that, how long we'll be doing it. So for us, just keep track of everything really well. Keep going, I think, is the main thing. One thing that I've watched David do too is through the years, there's a family in California that lived down the road, and this man was a dairyman, but his grandsons wanted to be around it more. They liked the beef cattle more. They got involved. Today, they have a really nice herd of Angus cows and have done really well with them. And they come and they help. They're a part of it. And so those contacts, just to also keep introducing people, just like working with Tyson and Rachel Cox, to share our knowledge on how to run a bull sale. So now we're teaching them. We came in with the knowledge of how to do it, how to set up, what it's all about. And that'll be for them someday to eventually take over and keep going and get it established. And so those types of encounters are very rewarding. So it's not always about family. I think family's wonderful. David and I have said along the way, we think our kids watched how hard we worked and thought, maybe there's a better way to make a living.
I don't want any of that. Yeah.
Yeah, And so, but they do like to come visit definitely and be a part of it whenever we're having an event. So you never know who else you're going to meet that maybe is a first generation Angus breeder. That's what we are. That's what we formed. This didn't come from family on either side. And so when we were interviewed for the other video, the message that I wanted to get across is sometimes it feels to young people it can only happen for those that come from a family that have a lot of program assets, land going. We're proof that you can do it a different way, and you can still have cows and you can still be a part of it. And like this family that I'm talking about, they have their jobs, they all go and do, but they have a nice small herd of Angus cows now that only continues to grow. And so it's, I think, important to encourage people. You don't have to be great big, you can be smaller and still really enjoy the rewards of being in this business for a lot of reasons.
That's cool.
Well, and I think what you guys are doing, and we hear this discussion like you do of who's going to take over these ranches, who's going to be back, and we see cases as you have of maybe it's not the kids that want to come back, but there is a a young couple or that are kind of just looking for a little bit of a leg up or a place to kind of help learn the ropes and get established in a partnership maybe. And so,
Right.
good on you guys for finding those and growing those. And I think there's a lot of that out there. We've talked organizationally. Are there ways we can kind of help connect some of those? Because we tend to see it sometimes on both ends. You see some folks that maybe don't have a family that or kids that are interested or for whatever reason, and yet then there's a young couple that are just dying to have a shot, and they neither would born into it, but they're just looking for an opportunity to get plugged in somewhere and just get a little bit of a start. Good on you guys, and that'll be fun to watch. Be fun to watch.
Yeah, and it refreshes you being around young people. There's a few around here that bought a few heifers or bought a few cows, and they get so excited and they want to learn all about it. And it does. I remember when we had the accounting firm training young people, they keep you fresh. They bring you to the table, they help you think about it in a different way, and their excitement is contagious when they're trying to learn a new occupation or learn about a new business. So that's something that's fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's no replacement for youth, I don't think. That's a good thing.
No, but we don't have to worry about passing it down. So I guess it's easy. I guess if there was young people really wanted it and you were in a position, you'd finance them or you'd carry it because the bank's probably not going to do everything. That's what you can do for them. But ours is pretty easy. The day we don't do it, the kids don't want it. We can sell cows. We can do whatever.
Yeah.
Now, they'll have to sell this place because I'm not going to do it probably. But that's what they can do when we're gone. That's up to them. So but I can feel for the ones, especially large families, that try to feed enough families to pass it down. It would be very difficult because we were never in a position, however it worked, that I don't think we could have supported more than ourselves and got where we're at. It's pretty difficult to do. Yes.
So I hear in your answer there that Nebraska feels like home now.
Yeah, it does to me. I don't know if Carol is quite there with me and everything, but yeah. It's my preference to stay. We can't hear any traffic from the house where we do live. It's a nice place. It's in the country, but there's an egg plant down the road from us and a dairy and a calf deal. And there's probably a couple hundred trucks a day drive, within 100 yards of the
house in California. Yeah.
It's maybe it's too quiet for some, but I'm fine. We're in a nice spot. The river's in front of us. You could sit out on the bench on the front porch with a cocktail in the evening and just do nothing or sit there and enjoy it. So it's, I can do that.
Well, I must say that Megan Silvera was trying to convince us to come do this episode in person. So we'd have gotten to see it. And she said she'd volunteer to drive us out there and take photos. But between this new arrival that's coming in my life and Mark's schedule, it just didn't work out quite that way. But maybe we'll have to take a rain check on that and come visit you some other time.
Sure. Megan's done very well. I mean, she bought her first heifer not knowing anything. Girl, and showed and did well. Always good public speed, but it's really gratifying for us to see how well she's done and what she's getting done at her age. For a girl that had no ag background to start as a little girl, she's gone a long way with it. It's really nice. Yeah. And her grandpa still helps us at the sale every year. Drives a water truck, never quits, works for 2 days afterwards. And he's got to be about 80 or a
At
little
least,
over.
yeah.
And Al still helps with every bull sale also. So another connection.
I love that. Well, we're sure glad to have her on the team, and she contributes an awful lot and has made us all better. So she
Absolutely.
thinks a lot of you guys too, and I wanted to pass along that she said hi as well. But
It's so fun to see her so grown up at the Angus convention, and when she speaks and does the
yeah,
presentations, it's like I tell her mom, I go, oh man, she's doing well. That's for sure. So good.
very fun. Love that. Well, I guess we always end on a random question of the week. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to add or anything I haven't asked you about before I ask you a random question?
I don't think so.
You're just nervous about this random question, aren't you?
You know, I can sound smarter, I can sound dumb, and we're gonna have to trust you guys. Whatever works, we'll make it work.
So my random question of the week is I want to know what was maybe either the biggest learning curve when going to Nebraska or maybe a piece of gear or equipment that you had to buy for this region that you wouldn't have used in California.
Okay, I've always been fairly equipment poor. I want to run cows, didn't want to farm, and it doesn't take a lot in California. We're fortunate; most of the stuff was done here, but I had to buy a bigger tractor than I ever have had.
Sure.
It had to have a cab and a heater and a hay buster to feed in the winter. And that's not something that we did at all in California. So those were the two biggest purchases or changes. It would be equipment. As far as everything else, my neighbors have been really good at helping us make the transition whenever I ask them how they do things, because not everything's different or the same in places. How they do it, they've been really good about helping us and doing everything. We trade a lot of help with them. So that part's been really good. I don't do everything exactly the way they've always done it. They probably look at me and think, he's going to screw this up. But so far, it's been okay. It's worked out all right. So, yeah.
I did put the okay on putting a heater in the barn. That way he can calve his cows. We have a Christmas party now every year. We started that, 3-4 years ago? And it's an event that people look forward to now. We do it the Sunday before Christmas and we gather everybody. But then that barn is also where we have the bull cell. So if it is a blizzard, it's going to have a heater in it so people aren't freezing. So that was the other thing. In California, would never think of
You
something
didn't need
like that. No, but we needed to have that.
They just looked at me like I was a wimp. And we didn't care. I told them we're from California. It does not get below zero. Never when we camp. So it's a nice balmy 45 to 50 degrees in there when it's below zero. So that's just fine with me.
Yeah, you don't let any of them fool you. We can say that we're adapted to this weather, but it doesn't mean we like it.
I have figured out they hate the below zero and a lot of snow just as much as somebody that moved into it. They've just learned to deal with it. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
But the folks are tough that have been here a long time. I will give them that. Yes. They're dedicated and they're tough people.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to visit with us today and getting him in off the tractor, Carol. We appreciate your role in that as well.
Gave him a phone call going, it's 10 to 3. So thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to visit with you both and to hear about what we've done in our lifetime and are still enjoying doing. And I've made good friends back here in Nebraska now, so it's pretty easy to get me to come right back and to visit. And it's grown on me a lot more as well. There's no doubt. And now I say a good friend in the cattle business at home says, I hear you say now, well, it's only 40 minutes to town. And I say, yeah, that's the new way to say it. And no traffic. I appreciate that. So we feel very, very blessed and fortunate to have had this second chapter. That's for sure.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys coming on and sharing that and your story. And I know you guys are a fun couple that it's really been a pleasure to get to know you over the years and know your story and some of the uniquenesses of where you run in California and then this transition to Nebraska and kind of sharing all that with us. I know that'll be this will definitely be, for somebody that wants to be or getting ready to be a first generation Angus breeder, I think your story is one absolutely that's inspiring. And thank you for sharing it with us.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Thank
Appreciate
you
that.
very much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
And thank you, Miranda.
Thank
Yes,
you.
it's nice to get to know you as well, and hope the future brings lots of fun and happiness.
Thank you. That was a fun conversation, and I do really hope I get to their place up in the Sandhills sometime in the near future. If you want to travel to ranches across the United States without ever leaving your home location, be sure to follow the Angus Journal on Facebook and Instagram, and follow the Angus Media accounts on Snapchat and TikTok. We'll give you a behind-the-scenes look. And if you want the latest coverage on the Feeding Quality Forum that Mark mentioned in the beginning, head on over to our sister publication, the Angus Beef Bulletin, and get signed up for their free Angus Beef Bulletin Extra. You'll get a twice-monthly dose of health, management, nutrition, marketing, and more. This has been the Angus Conversation, an Angus Journal podcast.